Hello, my name is John Burris. Thank you for joining me today for this short video called Why We Sabotage Our Lives. In this video, I'll be demonstrating how the power of the mind is incredibly powerful and it dictates our actions, our thoughts, and our direction in life. And how many of us, we claim we want to be successful, we want to be wealthy and healthy and have a vibrant, joyful life. Yet we keep failing at those endeavors. We read all the books, go to the workshops, watch all the online videos, and still we can't seem to get it right. So why is that? So in this video, I'll be demonstrating the power of the mind and how most of us are deliberately sabotaging our lives. We actually want to fail. That's correct. We want to fail. On the surface, we might have positive, enriching thoughts, but underneath in the subconscious, that's what's driving the train right now. And until we get in touch with what's in the subconscious, we won't be able to essentially understand why we keep failing and sabotaging our life. So here's the one way I look at it. If you manifest or journal or want to create something, you have a vision, an idea, you have this magical success story in your head and it's going forward and then it fails. Well, why is that? Well, there's two forces at work there. Imagine with this ball here. I can either hold on to it or I can drop it, but I can't do it both at the same time. I can hold on to it and let it fall, and if it falls, it will keep going all the way to the bottom until it hits resistance. So holding on to it or dropping it, two alternatives there. So you can't have a success story if you have one foot on the brake. And what happens in our sabotage is we are subconsciously, if we're driving a car analogy, we've got one foot on the gas pedal and one foot on the brake, and we're sabotaging our own success. That could be in your finances, your relationship, your health, your joy in life. So we have to learn how to take the foot off the brake and find out why we're sabotaging our own lives. Often we feel beleaguered by a disease, the failure disease, where it's just bad luck. Bad luck happens to me all the time. Oh, it's my family. Our family never gets ahead. Nobody in my community, the people I know, ever gets successful. It's always those other people. And we keep telling that same story without realizing that we are the creation of that failure and that sabotage. And so no matter how big your dreams might be, why are they not coming to fruition? Because you still have your foot on the brake. And your highest level aspirations are being stopped by your subconscious sabotaging beliefs. Now, I've outlined about 13 different ways we sabotage our life, but it all comes down to the same thing. We want to fail. And if you just take that aspect, you might be startled and say, why would I want to fail? Because there's many really good reasons we want to fail that we're not aware of. So just because you went to the best schools and had the greatest parents and you grew up in a community that's very supportive, doesn't mean you're going to be successful. Many times we fail because of our own volition. We choosing to fail. And this video will help explain some of that and help you guide you in a new direction. This is part of the leading edge community of new anatomy. Old anatomy is studying the brain. The brain's just an organ. New anatomy is studying the mind. The mind is much bigger than the brain. It operates outside the brain and creates your reality. So in this new anatomy video, we'll be exploring how the mind works and how if you start to look at your subconscious and the reasons you want to sabotage, it will help release the brake so you can keep going forward. We often, once again, find sabotage to be like bad luck or somebody else took our pot of gold and we play the victim card. Well, somebody else got the job. Somebody else got the award. Somebody else was better than me. And in most cases, we're doing our own sabotaging. And if we can start to take self-responsibility and look inside, and we might find a deeper answer. So a lot of this work comes from my work as a body-mind therapist. I'm also a yoga therapist, yoga teacher, body worker, a fascia body worker, an anatomy teacher, a lecturer, an author. So this particular work today comes from my decades of body-mind therapy. And body-mind therapy is when You examine how your thoughts and your beliefs control your body. How you think about yourself determines your posture. It often determines whether you're sick or well. It holds on to old stories, old memories, old traumas in your mind, and those mental games create your physical reality. So the same with our success or failure in our life. If we're sabotaging our life, it's about the mind. And if you want to take a deeper look, we got to connect the body mind together and show you how it all works together. Some of this work comes from my first published book, Your Return to Nature, the 5 Pillars of Healing. And the first pillar I work with is recovery of the mind. Most of our issues come from a mind that's basically unprocessed, and we've forgotten how to process conflict. We've forgotten how to release our emotions. We've forgotten how the fact that our thoughts and our feelings and our beliefs are all intertwined within our body-mind concept. So the return to nature will give you a head start in some of this work. So the basis of sabotage comes from this. It is my belief that we all have multiple personalities. We're not just one person. We have multiple people in us, and they show up at different times. The person who's in love is going to be different than the person who's under stress. The person who is financially successful and is winning in the world is going to be different than the person who's going bankrupt. Your different personality traits come out as this. We have a whole smorgasbord of personalities. So it could be a handful, it could be dozens. And so what I've noticed in my work is body-mind therapy, the person who shows up at my doorstep isn't always the same person from the last week. They're different people based on what's going on in their life. You can tell it sometimes by people's posture, their facial expressions. Who are you today? And so that's what happens in sabotage as well. So let me show you in a model here. Imagine you have a family, and there's a child in the family, and that 13-year-old boy, he's a great student. He loves studying. He's good at studying. He's a great academic, and he's got a great career ahead of him. He's also a great athlete. Another part of his personality. He's good at sports. He's very dedicated and committed. And he's good with the family. Everybody knows him as a loving part of the family member. Yet what happens is one day you get a knock on your door, and it's a police. And they want to identify your son. They bring your son. They said, we just caught your son stealing a bicycle. And you as parents say, well, that couldn't be. That's not who he is. That's not who he is. That's not my son. But what the parents don't realize, there's a part of your son who wants to sabotage his life. And we'll talk about why. That part of him exists, and he may never show that to the family. That might be his dark secret, or what we call the shadow sometimes, but that's the part of him who stole the bicycle. And so all these other parts got pushed aside for a while, and that part showed up, and his family may never have seen that. Go, well, that can't be, that's not him. That's how we all operate. We all have parts of ourselves. Many times we're exposed to the world. Sometimes they're hidden. It's called our shadow. And we don't want anybody to know about it, or only our closest friends know about it. But we are all of that. And a truly balanced human being with a balanced mind is somebody who understands all their different personalities and what they all mean. And today we'll explore the part of our personality here which wants to sabotage our life or fail. And we all have one. Either it's a large part or a medium part or a small part. We all have one of these, that part of us that wants to fail. So we'll explore about that, and we'll show you how the human mind is more than just one personality. It's a whole bunch of personalities come together, and sometimes one of them is the one driving the bus and wants to fail. And here's another important concept to consider. Your thoughts are not your beliefs. Now, I've spent many years in the meditation yoga community, and the desire is to quell your thoughts, to subdue your thoughts, to quiet your thoughts. The problem is, in most people's problems, is not their thoughts the problem, it's their beliefs. Beliefs are much deeply rooted. It's like a thought you keep thinking over and over again that becomes rooted. So I don't believe you can meditate away a belief. You have to do some other work to get to that point. Meditation might be a first step, but I've never seen anybody meditate a belief away. For example, if you believe the world's a scary and frightening place, there's no amount of meditation is going to cure that for you, because that's an ingrained belief that's rooted in you. And I don't believe a meditation course will take you there. Others might disagree, but I've never seen it. But there are other types of work that will help that. In order to be truly healthy and balanced, you have to examine your beliefs and make changes in your beliefs. So now we'll examine the 13 ways that I found that people sabotage their lives. Once again, most of their life or personality might be success and health and prosperity, and they have a part, either small or large, which is subconsciously there, but it's still very active. And when you can understand why you sabotage your life, you're 80% there. So the important question, remember, is why am I wanting to fail? And if you can answer that question, you're very far along in the healing process. So once again, we'll try to find out, why do you want to sabotage your life? The first reason we sabotage our life is because of success guilt. Imagine you were gifted growing up. You were the perfect athlete, the perfect student. You had the perfect figure, and you succeeded, and everybody applauded that. But you might have had siblings where your siblings didn't make the basketball team. They weren't that good at school. They put on weight. Why? So here's what happens. Somebody, for example, who's successful will deliberately fail because they feel embarrassed or ashamed because they're so successful. Like somehow God gave them all the good stuff in the family and their siblings are suffering. So there's a sense of downplaying yourself and destroy yourself because you feel bad for the people around you who aren't so successful. This is part of sabotage. So one of my favorite stories I like to tell, in grade school, one of the prettiest girls, the smartest, would get the best grades. And the teacher would read the grading scores out loud, and she was grading on a curve. And so if her grade was A++, everybody else had to be less. So when her grade was read, the whole class booed and go, oh, it's her again. It's her again. So then I watched as she got into her high school teenage years. She just started wearing heavy makeup. Her grades dropped. She got heavier because, in my opinion, she decided it was too much pressure to be successful. She would rather fail than be abandoned by her classmates. So that's what happens when we have success guilt. We actually start to sabotage ourselves. The second way we sabotage our life is because it feels good to be bad. So this is how it works. Imagine you're the president of your class in high school, you're the head of the debate team, you're a great athlete, you're a great student, your family loves you, you're the hero of the family, but there's so much pressure that you go out on Friday nights and drink with the guys and get drunk and maybe have a couple of DUI arrests, or you fail at something because it feels good to be bad, because you're taking the pressure off, this pressure you have to follow this family model of having to strive, and this addiction to ambition and to proving yourself. So when you're bad, you feel better because you're sabotaging and you're failing, and it takes the pressure off this over sense of control in your family you learn. So a family that teaches you how to be in control all the time, many times somebody will actually want to be bad by being out of control because it feels better temporarily. It relieves the pressure of an over-pressurized family system. So many times we deliberately sabotage our lives because it feels good to be bad. The third way we sabotage our life is through self-punishment. Imagine that you did something either inadvertently or on purpose and you hurt somebody else. Let's say you were involved in a drunk driving where somebody was hit and killed or wounded or injured. And you caused it. It's your fault, and you can't let it go. You cannot forgive yourself. So you might sabotage your life by doing drugs, or you can't hold down a job. You create more chaos in your life because you're trying to forget about the wound that's in you. And basically, you're creating a self-punishment system. You're trying to punish yourself because you can't forgive yourself. So many times the acts of self-sabotage or self-punishment because we're not willing to forgive something we did or said, and so we want to take it out on ourselves and spend the rest of our lives punishing ourselves. Or if we're not punished enough by society, sometimes when society punishes you after your punishment's over, you go, okay, I served my time. Many times, if we feel like we got away with it, we'll self-punish ourselves and sabotage our life because we feel somebody needs to punish us, and we do it to ourselves. The fourth way we sabotage our life is by the punishment of others. So the punishment of others is another way we sabotage our life. So imagine that you're 10 years old and you just got home from school and your friends ask you to come play with them, and your parents say no, for whatever reason. You have homework, or they don't want you outside, or the weather's not right. Whatever reason, you're incredibly angry because you're disappointing your friends, you're letting them down, and you want to go play. So you build your anger up. So the way you're going to punish your parents, you won't study for the test because your parents have imbued in you this sense of scholarliness and you're a good student. But you decide to not study for the test. You go the next day, you fail the test because you didn't study. And now your parents are not only angry, they're embarrassed, and you feel like you hurt them back. You got even. You hurt them back by punishing them, by sabotaging your own self, your own life. So a lot of times when we feel like somebody's punishing us, we will sabotage our life in order to get back at them and punish them back. And that's a lot what happens when we try to punish others. It ends up sabotaging our own life. Another way we sabotage our life is through negative emotions. Another way we sabotage our life is through the negative attention patterns and negative emotions. So imagine in the animal world, for example, with a dog. Many times you train an animal like a dog, reward them for positive behavior, and you punish them or withhold reward for negative behavior. Well, the same happens with us as children and as adults. So there's all kinds of family structures and what's your role in the family. Many times kids get attention by being negative. They get attention by doing bad things. When they do good things, they're avoided by their parents. They're not seen. They go unheard. But somehow when they do bad things or negative things, they get all kinds of parental attention. Unfortunately, that behavior continues as people grow up into adults. They continue to get attention through their negative behavior. And that's called sabotage. They continually act out their childhood by doing sabotage events. You could go steal a car, steal a bike, do all kinds of drugs, because the only way they learned how to get attention growing up was by doing bad things or negative things. So this is also one way that people continue to sabotage their life, because the only way they know how to get attention is to do negative things. Number 6 is being stuck in physical trauma. So many people are stuck in physical trauma without realizing it, and that leads to a life of sabotage. For example, you might be in a car crash 10, 20 years ago where you had a whiplash and a broken shoulder, and you don't know how to get rid of the pain, so you drink a lot and you become an alcoholic, and that temporarily curtails your pain. So you're sabotaging your daily life because your body's in physical trauma. Many athletes have trauma that persists for decades. The concussion issues, the head injuries, the back injuries, the surgeries, all the things that have happened are still lodged in the body. As a body worker, I can tell you that athletes don't age very well at all. their bodies are completely broken down, and then they have all kinds of sabotage behavior. It might be gambling, it might be alcohol, it might be all kinds of things to try to subdue the pain they're in. So the outer appearance of a sabotage life might be coming from a body that's basically in pain, and people don't even know they're in pain. They've numbed out to pain. So a lot of sabotage comes from people not taking the responsibility or knowing where or how to relieve the physical pains in their body. Stuck in emotional trauma is another way that we sabotage our lives. So when we have emotional trauma, most often we're never taught the tools in order to how to remedy that and come back into balance. For example, let's say you went through a divorce 15 years ago and you never got through the bitterness, the mistrust, the anger that happened. So you eat and put on weight and become unhealthy. So you sabotage your physical body because your emotions are still stuck in you. And you're carrying all this emotional weight that's buried underneath the physical weight. So eating will numb you out. So you get stuck in emotional traumas. Imagine that one of your children died early in their growing up, and you never grieved. You never had the time or the energy or the focus to grieve the loss. And so you have your own traumas and sabotage that you do. You might become a workaholic. You might become a rescueaholic. We call that a codependent. You might become a workoutaholic and you just work out all the time. You might become anorexic because you are sabotaging your life because you're still stuck in emotional trauma. We see this a lot in what's called PTSD, which is when soldiers come back from war. It doesn't have to be soldier. You can get stuck in PTSD from a car accident, from a bicycle accident, from a divorce. It really means your emotions haven't flowed, so you do things to try to medicate yourself. It could be ingesting something or a behavior or any other type of addiction. So your sabotage is a way of numbing out the emotions that are buried inside that you haven't taken responsibility to let go of. Remember, emotions are about energy and motion. And most of us never got the training on how to release our emotions. We have more training in how to go to the bathroom than we have in how to express our emotions. So when you're stuck emotionally, you often sabotage your life because those emotions are still running your life from deep inside, your subconscious. The next way that we sabotage our lives is through frustration. So frustration is also a common way that we sabotage our life. So imagine you have a goal. You want to start a new business. And you do what you think is the right preparation, and after a year the business is failing and you become frustrated. So you start drinking and you smoking and doing all kinds of erratic behaviors. You go out and buy a new Porsche because you don't know what to do anymore. And so your frustration leads to sabotage. Well, I like to look at it like this. Human beings never were taught like a rat. If a rat was put in a maze and it hits a block that it can't go any farther, it learns to turn directions and try something new. Human beings, when we hit a block in the front of us, a roadblock, we give up or we become addicted. So what happens is when you hit a roadblock in your dream, the secret is to learn to turn directions. And one thing I learned many years ago was that failure is definitely an option. For example, if your business is failing, maybe it's time to declare bankruptcy, and that might be the best option at the time because failure gives you a chance to reset. So the fact that things don't work out doesn't mean the end of the road. It means, are you willing to change directions? In most cases, we turn to sabotage because we don't know how to get out of frustration and turn directions. Curiosity is another way that we sabotage our lives. Often we sabotage our lives through curiosity. We want to know what that's like, what that lifestyle is like. For example, you might think, oh, my friends are in a gang. I wonder what that's like. I'm curious about that lifestyle. And then you get into the gang, it becomes more than you thought. They're doing things that are illegal or legal, and you're sabotaging your life because you're in a world now, you never grew up there, but Your curiosity brought you there, or you decide, what would it be like to rob a bank? And you go do it, and you spend 20 years in jail because you're curious. Or you decide you're at a lot of night parties and people are doing drugs, and you go, I wonder what that's like. Let me try that. And all of a sudden you're addicted to drugs and you can't get off because you are curious about that lifestyle. So many times curiosity leads us to sabotage our lives because it creates things we didn't initially start from, but it keeps opening up these pathways of sabotage one after the other. Shame is another way that we sabotage our lives. Shame is an inrooted, deep core belief in many people where you believe that you're not worthy, that there's something wrong with you, that you're a mistake, that why even try to lose weight because I don't deserve it? Why even try to get successful in business? Why even try to look perfectly or have a great life because I don't deserve it? Those other people deserve it. I don't deserve that. So shame will lead to a life of you don't even try, you give up, you surrender, and you don't even pursue a lot of your dreams or your aspirations or your goals. So on the surface you say, I want to get in perfect shape. But if you have a deep-rooted shame complex, you're saying, why even work out? Because it's not worth it. I don't deserve to look good. I don't deserve to have the perfect clothes, the perfect partner, the perfect job, the perfect car, because I'm broken. I'm not worthy of that. I don't deserve that. So if you have an underlying core belief in shame, you often use that as a way to sabotage your life. Reward for suffering is another way that we sabotage our lives. Imagine you're stressed out, you work all day long, you've got to take care of the kids, you've got to shop, cook, clean, you're weathered, you're beaten down. So at night you go online and buy things, and all of a sudden you have a giant debt that you can't get out of. So you are now sabotaging your financial life because your shopping addiction is rewarding you for your suffering throughout the day. You actually look forward to it at night because it relieves the suffering. It's like gifting yourself something that puts you in a harmful financial place because you're trying to reward yourself from all the suffering you've endured through the day. So in many aspects, this is what happens. You work at a job, you get done, and people go out and drink at night because they're rewarding yourself, not always, but sometimes, for the suffering at their job that they have to do and endure, and the commute and everything else. So often we sabotage our lives because we feel like we're suffering at one point, and by rewarding yourself, it becomes too much somewhere and gets you into trouble, and now you're in a sabotage mode. The pressure of perfection is also a way we sabotage our lives. Often we feel the need to be perfect all the time, and when you have to be perfect all the time, there's a lot of pressure that builds up. So often you might sabotage your life and do something crazy, or what part of the shadow we talked about, and you have to let go of some steam and whatnot. So you have perfection on one end of the scale, and then you have, which causes basically you to be in control all the time. Then somehow you learn to be out of control. You might be a closet drug user. You might have a hobby, online gambling at night, and it creates a huge debt because you created this debt to lose control, because in your normal day life, you're perfect all the time. And at night, when you do your online gambling and accrue a huge debt, which causes sabotage, you're now out of control. So those two balances back and forth, being in control, out of control, a lot of it's because of the perfectionist personality. There's, you feel you have to look a certain way to people, but when they're not looking or you're in private, you lose control and you do another sabotage behavior to mitigate the pressure from being perfect all the time. The judgment of others often causes a sabotage behavior as well. So the judgment of other people will often determine your own sabotage. Let's say you judge rich people. So you deliberately fail or don't succeed because those rich people are evil. You judge somebody who drives a certain kind of car. You say, well, that person is evil for driving that kind of car. So you deliberately downgrade your life because you don't want to be like that person. So as we have role models that we judge, we often will sabotage our own life because we don't want to be like them because we've determined that they're evil. So often our judgment of others will determine how we sabotage our lives as well. So another question to ask yourself is, every day you get up, are you looking for ways to be successful, or are you looking for ways to fail? What happens is this. If your sabotage belief is still in your body and you feed it every day, you look for ways to fail. I always wonder, how do you get up in the morning and decide to go rob a bank or steal a car? Where does that belief come from? But here's what happens. If you keep feeding that negative core belief, it grows and it becomes your identity. It becomes your most important personality trait. You become the criminal. Not that you're having criminal activity anymore. Your whole identity is you are the saboteur. That's who you are, because you keep feeding that negative button in you where you don't know how to get out of it, because your core belief is, I want to fail. And so how do we turn that around? Well, we got to get people to listen to their core beliefs. Once again, not their thoughts. Why do you want to fail? Why do you want to sabotage your life? If you can understand that, you're 80% there in the journey. So once again, there's lots of resources available. Hypnotherapists, therapists who work with the mind. There's books. There's all kinds of things. So I recommend, if you're interested in the topic, then work with somebody. Try to understand what your core beliefs are and how you often sabotage your life. So thank you for joining me today for this short video called Why We Sabotage Our Lives. If you'd like to learn more about me, you can join me at my website, johnburris.com. My book is also available there. You can subscribe to this channel for more leading edge videos to come. So please, thank you for watching and have a great day.